Hello, everyone, and welcome to the Swami Army fifth Test preview of the Pataudi Trophy between England and India. Now, there could be a lot of adjectives we could use to describe India's performance in the fourth Test: despicable, disgraceful, dreadful. None of which will do justice to what we saw from Team India. That was probably one of the worst performances certainly I've ever seen them put on against England in the fourth Test, uh, having gone behind 200 runs in the second innings, and with only on day three to be bowled out within the session within less than 40 overs or 45 overs is dreadful. Not even to score 300 runs in both innings in the whole Test match is yeah, it's just not good enough. So to here to dissect what all went down for us in that fourth Test is our usual guest Angadh from the Swami Army. Angadh, welcome to you.
Hi, Kartik. Pleasure to be here this evening.
Fantastic, and also our special guest, probably not so special anymore. He's become a regular member of our show. That's ESPNCricinfo's Indian correspondent Abhishek Purohit. Abhishek, welcome to you.
Hi Kartik, glad to be back.
Always a pleasure to have you both on our show. I'll start with you, Abhishek. How do you see it? I mean, we all watched it, and it was we just couldn't believe our eyes, especially in that second innings when things were looking all right at 20-30 for no loss, and then, yeah, it all fell apart very, very quickly.
Yeah, well, it's been that kind of tour, right? If Vijay and Rane, that has been it. And if you consider the top six, the other four just they may not have turned up at all actually. So there's really been nothing to see in this series, and then you go back to Gautam Gambhir and you're going back to the past. So there's nothing to write home about India actually. But if you if you try to squeeze in some silver lining into this, I think this series could do Virat Kohli some good actually. So somewhere, this is my personal feeling. Somewhere you felt that it was getting too good too soon, and maybe this could bring him down just in time for the World Cup. But then the series is almost as good as gone. So yeah,
There you go. I think Abhishek still is in a bit of shock and hasn't doesn't have much to say. I don't blame him. We're all in a similar position. Angad, how did you see it all unfold? Was this probably a good thing for Virat Kohli to bring him little bit down to earth, and is there anything that Team India can do to go forward from here?
Well, I agree with Abhishek about this might actually be a good thing for Virat. I mean, we've seen it with all the greats of the last generation who, had that horrible run after a brilliant start, and they've gone on to do this thing. I mean, just think about the 2001 series between Australia and India, where Ricky Ponting barely scored 20 runs across three Test matches. And look at his record at the end of the day. So, it might just get his head into shape for the upcoming series against the West Indies and then the tour to Australia. But I don't know what they could do going forward into this fifth test. I mean, I've said from the start I don't think the selections have been the best that they could have been for every test match this series so far, and yeah, it's just a very unsettled squad at the moment.
yeah,
Yeah, going back to Gambhir, I think that was a very negative move, but they didn't really have many options, did they, with Shikhar Dhawan not scoring much this tour at all. So it's very hard to see how they can move forward from this one to try and salvage the series.
Yeah, and look, you're right. It's definitely interesting to see what happens with Team India and how they go forward after this. I guess you could probably say that there's only up from here. Then almost have hit rock bottom, if you like. And I guess we're starting to see this quite a few times. You can argue that the team is in transition. But having said that, there's definitely no excuse for what transpired in the fourth test. It wasn't even as if the pitch really wasn't that bad. England played on the same pitch and managed to do pretty well with their innings. And yeah, I think it was just all the shot selection by Team India, and just they really got themselves out. And really, Abhishek, you probably agree that they really got Moeen Ali into form. He's now being classed as a world-class spinner in England, when before this series he was purely just a part-timer.
Well, we just can't figure out how to deal with. I don't know. I don't even know whether to call it part-time off spin any longer. But it's just been too extremes. We've just got tended to get too bogged down, or we have tried to do what Purohit and Rahane did. One hold out to mid-off and one top edge the pull. With those such soft dismissals of such good batsmen, and that was the only chance Rohit got after that. So I don't know what it is. Maybe they have been seeking too much release after Broad and Anderson, because nothing has been coming against Broad and Anderson, and even the backup seamers were good in the fourth test. So I really don't know what how they are approaching playing Moeen Ali like. So it's I think the soft dismissals have rankled more, if you ask me. The way Rahane and Rohit got out, it was just too bad to see Indian batsmen get out like that to someone who doesn't bowl that often, and it's still not regarded by many as a full-time bowler.
Absolutely, and yes, we're talking about India doing really poorly, but Angadh, well, let's not take anything away from England. They were absolutely amazing with the ball again. Anderson and Broad seem to have got their mojo back and really taking it to the Indians.
Yeah, credit where credit's due. They've bowled exceptionally well the whole series, and I think the turning point for their batting as well was when Cook got back into form. So as a unit, they've performed pretty well since the third test. And they could be taking their foot off the pedal. 2-1 up in the series, knowing that India's quite demoralised by not letting Broad play with that injury he sustained. But the reports are that he's going to be playing with a face mask. So they're really trying to shake off that defensive tag and go for the kill for the next test. So England have kind of turned a leaf after their dreadful little run that spanned over a year.
No doubt. Now, that's the fourth test for you. We've seen how dreadful India is. Let's see if we can get some positives out of you guys now. Abhishek, what does India need to do to turn it all around, or can they turn it around and save the series, make it 2-2 at the Oval? What needs to happen?
I don't know what mindset the team is in at the moment. I'm told Dhoni was not there for training today. So, and Kohli gave some sort of speech to the huddle before the training started. But personally, I want this Jadeja obsession to end now, man. This has gone on for far too long. I was just reading a Martin Crowe piece, and there was one line that summed it up. I don't see him as a specialist batsman. I don't see him as a specialist bowler. So I have no idea how he got to play Test cricket. It is fine playing him in India, but this is just one of those Dhoni ideas that has gone too far now. He's averaging like 20 something with the bat, close to 50 with the ball. You've given him 4 tests at this, and then Ashwin comes in and pulls and plays some of the most gorgeous pulls you've ever seen on this tour. So this Jadeja obsession has to end for me in the 5th test. And I think it's pretty hard on Shikhar Dhawan to be dropped after 3 tests, because it's not so far back in New Zealand that he got you runs in both test matches actually, and he's the future. If you can't give him one full tour after following the tour on which he has done so well, I don't know. And going back to Gautam Gambhir was really regressive. So these are 2 changes I would like to see, and obviously I'll be really glad if Ishant Sharma comes in, and he has to take Pankaj Singh's place. I feel very bad for Pankaj. He's performed for so long in domestic cricket, but then obviously Ishant comes straight back in.
Yeah, well, hopefully he gets over his injury and he's back in the side very quickly, because, as you said, he'll definitely have to lead the attack. Probably for Pankaj Singh, but that's been unfortunate. He's been very unlucky, but that's sometimes you just have to make way for the lead pace bowler and the guy who's taken the most wickets. Angadh, to you, do you agree with Abhishek with the changes? Is anything else you'd like to see from Team India? And also, do you think England will make any changes, or will they need to make any changes?
I don't think England will make any changes, but for India, yeah, I'd like to see Shikhar Dhawan back in. I'd like to see Rohit Sharma back in. I think he was quite unfortunate just to get the one test, despite playing those quite loose shots to get out. I would go with back to the four bowlers. I don't think Jadeja bits and pieces over the years, performed well in the limited overs, and you can see why he would be selected at Holloway. He's given more assistance with the tracks, but yeah, I think I agree with Abhishek that that experiment needs to end, especially with 4 more tests coming up in Australia. I don't think will be very useful here either. So yeah, Ishant back in for Pankaj, retain Varun Aaron. I think he was probably the the silver lining of the last test. Getting the speed up there, the movement in the air. So and then Ashwin's obviously performing with the bat, and the over will probably give him more assistance for his off spinners. So I think, look, I doubt India will win the test, but they need to give themselves every opportunity they can, and that would be by selecting the best 11 that they've got.
Well, to add to what Angadh said, that I don't like whatever you say about Rohit. I really don't like how his test career is panning out. I mean, he starts with 200s in his first 2 tests. He shows you he can be a superb number 6 batsman. He fights with the tail. You take him on 2 short tours. They cannot be called full tours, 2 test tours, and there he fails. And then he finds that he cannot make the 11 on a 5 test tour. What signals are you giving him? And that too in place of a player who is charitably can be called bits and pieces. I really don't like what this is doing to Rohit's test career.
Agreed.
Given that we know how fragile his confidence can be.
Absolutely, he's definitely a confidence player, so he should be given as much opportunity as possible. Now, I've got a question from left field for you guys. What about Ajinkya Rahane? Is there thought that potentially he can move up the order? He seems to be coming in pretty early on in all the innings anyway, so perhaps maybe he could go higher up and just get a few partnerships going with the guys. Is that anything that would be taken into consideration?
Well, I would leave Ajinkya where he is. Right, he's been up and down in domestic cricket as well, and he's really worked hard to get into this lower middle order mentality. It's not been easy for him, but he's a guy who works really hard, and he's really put in a lot of hard work to get into this frame of trying to bat with the tail, and he's doing really well there. I don't see any reason in moving him up. Continue with him at 5.
Yep, fair enough. Okay, so to moving on. So for the next test, we've seen the changes that you guys would like to see, and hopefully we'll see. Now give us a result, guys. Angadh, how do you see this 5th test panning out? And give us a prediction ultimately after that.
Well, India barely recovers from losses such as that, so it'll be hard to see them to end the series 2-2, but I think they might just scrape away with a draw, and it'll be 2-1 at the end to England.
Okay, and Abhishek, yourself, how do you see it panning out? Is there any positive for India going forward at all?
We just hope and pray that they can get 20 wickets. I don't see that happening. I don't even see this Indian team. This Indian team has not shown that knack for drawing matches yet. It may win, it may lose, but it's not shown that knack of fighting out for draws yet. I'm going 3-1.
All right. Well, I'm a bit more positive than you guys. I hopefully can see them turning it around and leveling the series 2-2, which will probably be a good result after the last 2 test matches and how things have panned out. That's all we have time for, everyone. Thanks very much for watching. Once again, please thank you very much to Abhishek and Angadh for joining us on Hangout. Appreciate your time, boys. We'll be back at the end of the test match, of the 5th test, hopefully after a better performance by Team India, and who knows? Hopefully, if they were lucky enough, they'll get a win out of it and level the series before we move on to the next one. So we'll be back at the end of that. Enjoy the Test match from the Oval. Until then, we'll speak to you soon, and go Team India.